What's your most embarrassing sex story? My girlfriend and I went on a picnic by canoe out to an island where there would have been no one around for at least a few kilometers. Long story short, she starts giving me a blowjob, which went on for a few minutes until I start hearing a strange noise getting louder. All of a sudden, a search and rescue helicopter flies over the tree line and comes to a stop above us. It stayed there for a few seconds before turning around and flying back in the direction it came from. My girlfriend and I suffered through a 9-month-long distance relationship, and one time, after a long travel day to see her, I was going down on her. Well, jet lag hit me pretty hard and I fell asleep, face down, in between her legs. No greater place to fall asleep, lol. I suppose I can't argue with that, haha. Once dated a chef. One night, when he made dinner, he went way too heavy on the cayenne pepper to season the chicken, with his bare hands if you see where this is going. Later, things get steamy, and within 2 seconds of him fingering me, I jump up screaming in pain, as it feels like someone opened up the gates of hell in my vag. I spent the next hour hovering over the bidet naked while flushing out my area with milk, and we're laughing about it until his roommate decides to open the bathroom door without knocking and just stares at us. Was home for summer from college. My neighbor and I had been secretly hooking up for a little bit, and she had been over a few days before when my parents were gone. Came home one day and my mom was staring daggers at me. She said, "You have a mess to clean up," because I'm not doing it. I had no clue what she was talking about. Then she said to go look under the dining room table. Underneath it was a used condom that I had thrown into the bathroom trash can wrapped in toilet paper. My dog thought it would be cool to bring it downstairs and chew on it under the table. The family dog is always the biggest snitch. I will not be convinced otherwise. This literal same thing happened with my ex when we were in high school. Her dog took the condom out of the bathroom trash can and bam, I wasn't allowed to sleep over in the basement anymore. In hindsight, I have no idea why they let me sleep over in the first place. We were banging all night down there till she would go upstairs to sleep / not let her parents find out. Was going really hard, pushed a little bit too hard, and farted right as I came. A girlfriend might have laughed it off. My Tinder date did not. I'm just imagining the sound effects and can't stop laughing. It sounded exactly as you assume. I'm imagining one of those farts that goes for a while and then kind of tapers off and goes out with a quiet little squeak. All other sounds have stopped by the time it has reached the squeak stage, and there's just an awkward moment of silence and stillness. So what happens when she doesn't laugh it off? Did you have to get dressed curbside while she swore you out at the window? We just didn't talk about it and I left shortly afterwards. Sounds like a perfect ending to me. She threw up on my dick twice because she decided to ignore her gag reflex. We're married now. Edit. Twice as in on 2 different occasions, not in one sitting. Post-edit. I will bet my pubic hair that this will end up in some TTS Reddit video. We're married now. Naturally. My husband and I sometimes have to remind each other, no blowjobs on soup night, because the only 2 times I ever puked on his dick were both on soup night. My poor couch. Also like my poor husband, but mostly I was upset about the couch. With an ex-girlfriend of mine a few years back, whenever we wanted to go down to business, we usually put something on Netflix in the background. That day, we put on Planet Earth. Anyways, right when we were really getting going, we heard an ungodly noise coming from the TV, and I proceeded to watch David Attenborough narrate the mating process of Bactrian camels, which involves slapping their own asses with their tails. We burst into laughter and couldn't continue. Tried to pick a girl up and lay her down on a bed. Failed miserably. It was dark. We were slightly drunk. Slammed her head onto the bedside table and knocked her out. 15 years later, she still sends an occasional selfie wearing a helmet. I didn't knock her out, but I went to pick my girlfriend up over my shoulder and carry her to bed. Instead, I slammed her head into a running ceiling fan above our heads. It was not nearly as sexy as I planned, but arguably more funny. The head injury probably explains why she's still with me. We were staying with my boyfriend's family for Christmas. It was my first time meeting them. The second night of our stay, I sneaked out of my boyfriend's room with only his big hoodie on after sexy time to pee.
His mother was standing behind the toilet door when I came out and said, "You know, these walls are very thin. Anyway, you want something to eat?" Tinder date got off onto my floor of my apartment building, but was fucking wasted and forgot which apartment was mine, so she started yelling my name as loud as she could. I opened my door to see all my neighbors standing in their doorways staring at her. She had a 6-pack of wine coolers in one hand and her heels in the other. I told her to get in my apartment quickly and started apologizing to everyone else. Most just rolled their eyes and shut their doors, but the dude across the hall started clapping. Thanks, 8F. When my wife and I were teenagers, we were about to have sex on her bed. Teenage boy hormones in full force, pants around my ankles, standing on the bed, and I take a step back and I slip. My foot goes through the gap between her mattress and her bed frame and I fall backwards. My hand hits her ceiling fan, my back slides down her dresser, and my head hits her floor. I'm laying on the floor in a daze, figuring out what happened. She's just on her bed laughing at me. To this day, she will have moments when she just starts dying laughing, just thinking about it. My husband and I were going at it doggy style, and things were going very well. I started to have an orgasm, and due to the angle and the pressure, the world's longest fart slipped out. So I started to laugh. So I'm coming, laughing, and farting all at the same time. My hubby took it like a champ and laughed with me until I calmed down. If you burped, that would have definitely been a triple pipe classic. I was having sex with my boyfriend. He flipped me over so we could do it doggy style. All going well, suddenly I feel a lukewarm liquid splashing on my back. After a few seconds of splashing, I stop and I'm like, what the fuck is going on back there? I turn around to find my boyfriend sipping a mug of tea. He was trying to drink it while he was fucking. "It was going cold," he said. He's never lived that one down. Can you tell we're British? And to answer your questions, the tea was proper cuppa, black tea with a splash of milk. Preparing for anal with an ex-boyfriend, I had done it many times successfully in the past and felt pretty confident about it. He lifted up my legs and asked, "Ready?" I said, "Ready as I'll ever be," and then let out the biggest, longest fart in the world history. The farting wouldn't have been so bad if it weren't for my verbal response just moments before my sphincter decided to start singing. From then on, anytime I say "ready" in casual conversations like getting into the car, he would always say, "Ready as I'll ever be."
My boyfriend and I had only been together for a few weeks at this point. We were having sexy time at my house because we had a few hours before my younger brother got home from school. It was loud and fun when I saw a shadow pass my window. My room was next to the front door, so I saw when people came to the door. Brother had come 2 hours early because it was a half day. He shouts, "Hi," and starts down the stairs to make sure I was home. I hop off boyfriend and dive under the blankets and yell, "Don't come in." He pauses at the door, hears my boyfriend laughing his ass off, and throws the door open. Once he realized what was going on, he decided to make me super embarrassed. If you've ever seen the scene from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will catches his mom in bed with a guy, that's what my brother did. He sat on my bed, effectively holding me hostage, talking to my boyfriend like I wasn't naked and tomato-faced. We still joke about it, and I don't think I'll ever live it down. My front teeth are crowns from a skateboarding accident when I was a kid. In the military, I knocked one out, spent a month using denture glue to hold it back in place until my dentist appointment. Under the crown was a small bit of tooth, the crown attached to like a post. During that time, I had also just started a romantic relationship with my now wife, and had not mentioned my hillbilly tooth. During an Australian encounter, my tooth fell out and I was too preoccupied to notice. When I returned from down under and we were kissing, she noticed. He pulled my head back to see what was up and did a full-on double take at my mouth. I realized what happened and started trying to explain as she reached down, fumbled around at her bits, pulled out my tooth that had been stuck to one of her labia, and held it out to me quizzically. I almost died, but she still married me a few years later. One night my boyfriend and I were at a bar and drinking a lot. We thought it would be a good idea to go to his Camaro to fuck. This was in the late 90s or early 2000s, and I was wearing one of those long skirts with really high slits on both sides. So basically, even if you thought the skirt was scrunched up, it really was just the front or the back part. So we finished up and go back inside. This was a bar and not a club, so it was fairly lit. I almost immediately run into a group of girls I went to high school with. We were not really friends, so I assumed the conversation was strained and awkward because of the hollow catching up. Shortly after, I escaped and went to the bathroom. I basically had smeared cum all over my skirt. It was a combo of mine and his. On the front panel of the skirt, like literally on the bottom, on the top. From being bunched up, it was like all over the inside of the bag. It was everywhere. I was so embarrassed.